Well, I don't mind to slow down anymore. I don't mind the sound of my shoes on your floor. I don't mind selling out or playing cover song, just as long as friends and family sing along. And I don't need more money or a faster car, no. Don't need a magazine to call me a superstar, no. I'm gonna take this little house and make a home, and then I'll never have to face my nights alone.
Hey guys, welcome to Sailing Spyridon. This is John.
Hi guys, thanks for joining us here on Sailing Spyridon. We're going to talk a little bit about what we learned on our trip over here from Fort Pierce, Florida, and going around Florida, and then eventually getting the boat back here to Texas. And what we learned, our do's, don'ts, and things that I personally feel very silly about. So when we went to go to Fort Pierce to pick up the boat, Megan, Jenton, my dad, and Aunt Stefan all got there.
It sounded like you said Aunt Stefan. And Stefan.
So we all showed up, closed on the boat, and then we went into provisioning. We bought the boat on the 27th. We provisioned on the 28th, and we left the 29th.
Speak to the camera, John.
With us never having done anything like this before. So Stefan and my dad were along with us, which was very helpful. But neither of them had done any major crossings either. So there was definitely still some new stuff for everybody, but it was good to have some experience anyway. Megan and my dad went and did the grocery shopping and bought all of the store.
$650. $680 worth of groceries.
And Stefan and I went through and inventoried things like safety equipment, how many fire extinguishers, were they all good, flares, made sure we had life jackets for everybody, tethers, harness for Jenton, because there was only adult harnesses on the boat, some extra blocks just in case something broke or we needed it, and just went over the boat. We made sure chart plotter was working, we made sure that the depth gauge worked, we turned the speed meter on, but we were in the marina, so we couldn't really test it. And then checked the radar. But checked all the lights, made sure the windlass worked.
This is true. John needs a drink.
Before I could do these videos. That's the decision. So, alright, leading up to us getting up to Fort Pierce, I was nervous, and we didn't really know what we were doing very much. I had read through this book. I got it as a present from my dad when we first told him we were going to buy a sailboat and do this whole trip. So he got me Chapman's Piloting and Seamanship. Everybody should have it. Ton of information here. So what I got to do on the plane ride was refresh myself on a lot of information. Got to go through and read up on points of sail and how to approach bad weather, how to deal with on what all the different lines are called, and sail handling and trimming your sails, and what to do at different points of sail, and just generally, what happens if your boat gets knocked down, and lots of information that I just wanted to be prepared for. Even though we were going to do our best to avoid any major weather, I still wanted to have a pretty good idea of what happens in those scenarios. As being new, you don't know what you don't know. And I think that I didn't have a very good grasp or concept of how to interpret the weather information that I was getting. So that caused some difficulties for me in trying to determine what we should or shouldn't do, or where we should or shouldn't go. So I kind of had to rely on Stefan a lot for that, and my dad's opinions a lot for that. Thank you guys. So with their help, that was definitely a absolutely needed resource, and I feel like I'm much better educated now. I still need to keep educating myself on it, but it's a constantly growing process. But one of the best parts of this trip, and I feel really fortunate about it, was we left Fort Pierce and had the first 2 days going down the east coast of Florida. It was amazing.
It was really great.
It was ranging between 15 and 25 knots of wind, beam reach. We were full sails out for the first 2 days, just cruising along, 6-7 knots, and having a good time. And other than everybody got a little seasick on the first day.
He was the only one that threw up, though.
I was the only one that threw up. Yay. It was a blast, which just helped, I think, because you're going to run into some trials and tribulations in any kind of big journey like this when you are also really new. So having those first 2 days go so well was really good for morale, and it also helped carry us through. Like, we knew how good it could be, so when it was not so great, it was really good to kind of help balance, I think, the mentality on everybody out. So one of the things I will say is that 25 knots beam reach for 8 hours was not super great for our wheel autopilot that came on the boat, and it stopped working. So it broke like halfway through the second day or something like that, or by the end of the second day. I can't remember exactly. But the belt broke. We tried to fix it. We kind of mangled it back together and got another, I think, half hour out of it or something. But then it just wasn't working. No autopilot after the first 2 days, and we ended up having to hands to the rest. So on the third day, we woke up, we were planning on going back outside, and original plan all along was to sail the Outer Keys, going down to Key West, and then jump across to Texas. But there was some pretty severe weather, not so bad on the wind, but pretty big seas. And being new, we opted to go inside. So we did kind of the inner Keys, went the Intercoastal Waterway. I don't think that I necessarily would have done that if I had to do it again. Or I would have prepared for it a lot more. So anyway, we found the bottom a few times. This is where preparing for weather and waves and tides and things like that, where my lack of knowledge and experience hurt us. I didn't know when low tide was or high tide was, and we ended up getting stuck in Barley Basin. Fortunately, there was a really, really nice sailor. He's like, "Hey, I've been there before. There's this marina just up ahead. You can go pull in there and wait it out, and high tides in the morning." He helped us navigate getting in there. He also in the morning helped us navigate because he was leaving before us, and he gave us guidance on the way out there to make sure that we didn't run aground. Up until this point, I'm not going to lie, regrettably so, I may have been a little bit selfish on the wheel. So I was doing most of the steering. Me and Stefan honestly probably did most of the steering, more or less because I wanted to be on the helm. In my short-sightedness, Megan didn't get a whole lot of experience on the helm up until that point. Then we had to do an overnight. So now we were down to just me, Stefan, and my dad to do shifts. We picked a shift plan that was 3 hours on helm, 3 hours on watch, and then 3 hours of sleep. And we did that going to Marcos, but then when we got to Marcos, it was super early in the morning and dark, and I didn't like it, so we went all the way to Naples. And then after that, we reprovisioned in Naples, and when we left, we realized we had to do this again. We put Megan on the helm a bunch, and she got to start helping with the shifts, and really, really wish that I had done that sooner, because hand steering, when you're doing overnights and long passages, and you only have 3 hours of sleep, it's not really fun. But when you got 4 people and 3-hour shifts, it's nice. Everybody gets 6 hours of sleep, and it's a much more comfortable and pleasurable trip. So I learned better. You get Megan more up to speed on the steering. So that note, if you plan on doing any big passage making, I would get some sort of steering assist, whether it be a wind vane or an autopilot or something, because if you're running short-handed, either that or more crew. Get people aboard the boat to help break it up, because it's just too much to just constantly have to be on watch. Naples, Florida, by the way, it's super pretty. I do want to go back there and check it out. And the marina was Naples City Marina, and they were very nice, very helpful. We got lots of toilet paper there. But I don't know what to do with my hands.
Get your hands under control, John.
Skirt. We got lots of toilet paper in Naples. But we also did some provisioning, got some more food, got some supplies for the boat. That's where we picked up our new jib sheets. And then we were going to head from Naples to Texas. And again, that weather thing comes back to bite me. I didn't really know what I was looking at when I was trying to make decisions, so I erred on the side of caution. I saw some low pressure systems forming out in the Gulf, was worried about it being a storm, and we went to Pensacola. It turned out to be the good decision.
It was the storm that ended up flooding Houston in April of 2019. So
don't forget about those things when you're educating yourself on how to sail. Essentially, it's just as important as anything else. So when we got to Pensacola, we met a very really nice guy. His name was Babalu, a Vietnam veteran Purple Heart award, or he was awarded the Purple Heart. I'm not really sure how to. And we hung out with him that first night. Next morning we got up and we took off to go to Mobile, to go to Alabama. And when we got there, woke up the next morning, found that there were going to be 50 knot winds and hail on our path going to Houston. So I just decided no, I wasn't doing that. So we went back to Pensacola. When we pulled in, Babalu was there to greet us and said, "What are you guys doing? I thought you'd be halfway back to Texas by now." And we explained to him what happened and told him that we were just going to have to ship the boat because by the time the weather window was clear again, I was going to be having to be back to work. So Babalu came to us in his cheerful disposition and says, sailboats aren't meant to be shipped. He's like, "I'll sail it for you." And I was kind of didn't really believe him, but I was like, okay, all right. Next morning, Babalu shows up with a whole plan of how he's going to get the boat there, when they're going to leave, what he needs to make it happen, offers us his car to drive back to Texas, and him, my dad, and his friend Doug all sailed the boat to Texas for us. They had to wait 2 days, I think.
Yeah, 2 days for the weather window.
Which is exactly when I had to be back to work. So we left, I got back to work on time, and they sailed the boat over here for us.
And he lent us his car so we could drive home, and that way he could save us money on airlines and drive back.
Yeah. So just overall an amazing guy, and we're very thankful for him. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Babalu and Doug and Dad.
Yeah. You guys were instrumental in making all this happen for us.
How much did we spend on this trip?
The total costs between fuel, a few times that we had dockage fees, and food, and boat supplies, and new jib sheets, and lots of stuff. It was just under $4,000 total.
Arrgh. So if we were going to do this trip again, and start back and knowing what we know now and start back over again. So our friend Peter just came by the boat to talk to us, and John was dressed like this.
It's okay. I'm rebuilding his transmission. I'm sure he has the utmost confidence in me now.
Talk more like a pirate, damn it.
I have to rebuild the fella's transmission for him.
Alright, well, do we want to start from that last question again?
Yes. So I think that if we were going to do this trip again, knowing what we know now, I would spend much more time learning about the weather. It's really, it's the most critical thing, and the fact that was my oversight is kind of shameful. But
I can't take you
What?
seriously with the beard. You gotta keep the mustache and the dreads. Just
This is
no. Oh my gosh.
How about just the beard?
Just you get just the hair. Just...
Too sexy for
No.
my...
All right, so
I'd have picked a better crew. I'm just kidding.
that was the
Jake.
best crew you had. None of
Yeah.
it would have been fed.
I know. She kept us all
So we
super
would put
fed.
sunscreen on you and keep that child locked in the closet. I mean,
Yeah.
taken care of.
So...
But yeah, we would have done weather. We would
Done
have
more
studied
weather.
more weather and really researched more about the ICW. So we would have studied more of the intercoastal. We've found out that there's just really nothing that tells you about your journey from Florida to Texas. There's plenty of forums and stuff online about leaving Texas and going to Florida, but nothing vice versa. So once it came down to being at Pensacola and deciding if we were going to try to rush across and get over there through that weather window and not hit anything, and there's so many factors aboard that we just decided to go back to Pensacola, and that's when we met Bob Lou.
Yeah, that weather, I mean, looking at 50 knot winds and hail and being newbies, and also, but at that point we had lost Stefan. He had to go back to work, so he left from Pensacola. We went to Mobile. He was the most experienced guy on the boat, and he left, and 50 knot winds and hail was just a little too much for me to want to take on. So we turned around, we did go back, and my dad and Doug and Babalu all took the boat from Pensacola over, and now we have some information that we can share for you. So here's the things that they learned and expressed to us, which is all of the rigs and everything that were kind of scary to us. We never sailed through anything like that, and you hear about it, aren't all that bad. Basically, what I got from them is pay attention. Don't be screwing around. Use your, you got AIS and you got radar. Just pay attention. Keep somebody on watch. And at night, just be careful and common sense. The other thing is, other than, if you catch a good weather, which they happened to it was a quick sail, it's just as likely that you'll end up with no wind and stuck motoring the whole way. So, but all in all, it's not that scary. Don't get too close to the mouth of the Mississippi. You'll just, they did for a little bit, and then some sort of government boat kicked them out. They weren't supposed to be there, I guess. Also, it's just a high traffic area.
Pirates don't mumble.
Yeah, we want to talk to you about our windlass that broke. And I kind of knew this and understood this conceptually, and what we found out in reality is windlass is not designed to pull a 20,000 pound boat. It's designed to pick up an anchor off the bottom. So what happened is they lost steering coming into the channel at Galveston, and they got out of the channel and dropped the anchor in like 50 feet of water. So they had probably 200 feet of anchor chain out. And then they used the windlass to pull most of it up before it burnt out. And the reason it did is because they were dragging the boat with the windlass and not driving up on the anchor, which obviously, as now we know, is pretty common sense stuff. I didn't know that before. I think that they did. I gotta assume Babalu knew that. I think that everybody was just in a little bit of a panic being in the channel at Galveston and tired, and some mistakes were made. But that being said, it was worth it. I'd have given that windlass away if it meant Babalu took the boat for us like that, because it saved us a ton of money. Shipping it was going to cost about $9,000. So Babalu saved us quite a bit of money. And if all we lost was a windlass, that was worth it. And there ended up nothing being wrong with the steering, just a linkage came loose. So all in all, considering our experience and what we were doing, I would say it went off as good as can be expected.
Yeah, we got to test all different types of weather.
Mm-hmm. We did run into a storm from Naples to Pensacola. So 40 knot winds, probably 12-foot seas. And that was actually really good because at first, leading up to getting into the storm, and when we first got into the storm, I was super nervous. And then once I was in it, I was just annoyed. And being annoyed is different than being nervous. It's just not fun having to hand steer through that. If we had autopilot working, it would have made it much better. But ultimately, it really wasn't bad. It was all pretty good. And I still was having fun. It's just tiring to be doing this for 12 hours.
All right, well, I think that's going to wrap it up. Who wore the costume better, guys?
Arr!
Arrgh. If you have any questions, go ahead and comment them below and click that
I
subscribe.
respond, you bloody scallywags.
Go ahead and click that subscribe button and the notifications. That way you don't miss any future episodes.
Very soon.
So, thank you guys. Thanks for watching. And we appreciate y'all watching our videos. Thank you. We love you. Shout out to Babaloo, Doug, and Dad, and Stefan.
So shout out to Babaloo. Thank you very much. Dad, you were super instrumental in making all this happen for us. Stefan, all of your wisdom and your assistance.
Much appreciated.
So much appreciated. And Doug, you know, it was...
You were a great crew member.
You're a good crew. I didn't really get to know you too much, Doug, but thank you. And if you get to watch this, I really do appreciate your helping out, bringing our boat.
Thank you for teaching me those knots on that helm. That was pretty cool. He did some pretty amazing helm knots on his own boat.
Okay, awesome.
But yeah, thanks guys. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Don't forget to subscribe.